Hi, Gary Chillingworth here for Airgun World Magazine, Shooting and Country TV. Welcome to Life at the Range. Well, today we've got a video that's actually requested by one of our viewers. Quite simply, he said, "Hi Gary, I've got 2 or 3 guns, but I've also got quite a high-end scope, and quite simply, I can't afford 2 or 3 different scopes to fit all my 2 or 3 different guns, so I like to swap back and forward. How would you go about doing this? How would you recommend it?" He says, "I've got some basic scopes on the guns already, but I really can't get on with them." I think he said he's got a Vortex Viper, which is like £1,000 worth of scope, and on his other guns he's got like ones that basically don't fit his eyes. So I thought, do you know what, that's actually quite a good question. How much re-zeroing do you need to do when you start moving scopes around? So what we're going to do today is we're going to move a scope from my HW95 over to my HFT 500. We're going to see whether or not it loses zero when we move it around. That's pretty much about it. We've got a few tips and tricks and also a warning because I've really screwed up. Welcome to Life at the Range. We also have some amazing news. Those wonderful sponsors, the Surplus store at Crawley, have said to all Life at the Range members, if you do a purchase through the Surplus store in Crawley, if you use the code GC5 at checkout, you will get a 5% discount. So that's a G, a C and a number 5, and you will get 5% off all your purchases. I can't tell you what it means to have had, I mean, they've been with us for over a year. They're amazing sponsors. And if you hang around to the end of this video, we've got another amazing announcement about a new sponsor coming onto the channel. But to all those at the Surplus store in Crawley, thank you so much. Please show them some love. They're wonderful channel sponsors. And just use that code GC5 at checkout. Tell your friends as well. And get yourself 5% off. So if you're buying a £3 gun, that's what, 150 quid off. Not to be sniffed at. Okay, so here we have our HW95 with our Falcon in, is it Endurance or Endura, sitting on top of it, the S10i. Absolutely lovely scope, really enjoy it. Been shooting, I've used it a couple of times, really love it. And we need to take it off and we need to put it on our HFT 500. So the first thing we need to do is remove it. But this is our first trick. This scope is set up so it's perfectly zeroed for me. So I know that this is the distance, how, you know, from where I'm sitting there going like that I know that my eye relief is absolutely perfect. So the first thing we do is we just take a little bit of black tape and we sit it just in front of the forward scope mount. So that way, when we put the scope back on, we just put it up to there, and that way we know that we've got our perfect eye relief going back. So now we're going to go on to our next trick or tip or whatever, and I'm going to talk about why I've been an idiot. Now, as some of you know, I have got a Vortex Viper, and I love my Vortex Viper. I've broken my Vortex Viper. I was shooting it and it kept on going to the right and to the right, and I didn't know why. And Vortex have got a really good warranty system. Basically, even if you buy it new, second hand, whatever, they don't care. Send it back to them and they'll look at it and they'll fix it. And in my case, they're replacing it, even though I screwed it up. And what did I do? I used a set of Allen keys to tighten up the top mounts. Now, you're only meant to tighten these to about 15 inch-pounds of force. But when you're using something like that, and you're putting it on top and you're cranking it on, you can actually do a lot of damage. And that's what I did. I actually crushed, only fractionally, the tube, but that affected the internals. Now, I have just ordered a screwdriver set which has actually got a torque converter built into it, so I can set it at 15-16 inch-pounds and I can tighten everything up perfectly within the manufacturer's spec. But what I would do is, if you are tightening up scopes and things like that, is use something like this. This is just a standard screwdriver bit that still takes your bits on the end, and you can quite simply just go in, if you set it up correctly, and just unscrew. And this being a BKL mount, and then we can just slide it off, and there we go. And the beautiful thing about these is you haven't got that lever to really crank in the torque. So use one of these screwdrivers. I've got this set off of Amazon. I think they were about 10 quid, and they really work well. Or get yourself a screwdriver with a torque wrench built into it, or a torque indicator. Again, they're about 35 quid. But yeah, I screwed up my Vortex, and luckily Vortex have gone, no, it's all right, we'll replace it. So yeah, you really can't beat that for a warranty. But okay, so let's get this put onto the HFT 500 and let's get it zeroed in. Okay, now it would have made a lot more sense to actually shoot the HW95 at a target downrange to prove that it's zeroed. But please take my word for it, the gun is perfectly zeroed. So we've now got our S10i, which we're just going to slide onto our dovetail. Now, luckily, these are BKL mounts, and I'm a big fan of a BKL. However, if you've never used a BKL before, these won't, for the first couple of times you use them, these won't fit directly onto the dovetails. You have to take out one of the side screws and screw it into this slot here and essentially stretch the bits apart, and then they clamp onto the scope. They're just really, really well manufactured, and yeah, sports match BKLs, quality mounts are incredibly important. Now, another thing that what we could have done is we could have taken a measurement from the butt here to where the scope, the ocular end is, and then we could have just put that in so that it was absolutely identical. Again, I should have thought about doing that, but you know what I'm like. But what we're going to do now is I'm just going to bring it up to my shoulder. We're going to look through, and it seems incredibly dark. So we'll then just open up the lens cap, which will make a big change. And I'm going to slide it forward and back. And that is exactly where I want it to be. Hold it in place. And we'll give it a tighten. So hopefully that should now be clipped in place. For me, that looks absolutely fine. So the big question now is the zero, how far off is the zero? So what we're going to do is we're going to set up a camera down range, and then we're going to fire at 35 yards and let's see how far we are out. So we've laid down, and obviously as I am a target shooter, the vast majority of my time is going to be spent shooting from this position, not from here. Now, if I'm sitting here, I'm absolutely perfect on that scope. However, when I am down on the ground, I'm actually too close. So you need to set the scope up for the way you want to shoot. I'm going to be shooting prone off the deck, so I should have set it up prone off the deck. So we need to just adjust, talk amongst yourselves. The other thing I wanted to do today is we're testing out a new microphone and camera system. Now let's have a look. Right, so let's get on there like that. Push it forward. There you go. That is absolutely perfect. Now, so we'll just tighten that up. I think it's going to rain. What we've got is we've got a directional microphone, because as you know, we have a lot of problems with road noise here, with traffic going past just over there. It's fast road. Where did that go? It's there. So hopefully this directional microphone is going to cure a lot of those problems. Also, we've moved away from a bespoke camera and we're using a Google Pixel 9 because that's got this sound eraser app, and hopefully that will be able to remove some of the road noise. Okay, so that all looks accurate. So let's have just going to put one down and let's see how we are, and then we're going to go and set up a camera. Okay, so one thing you're also going to need to do, certainly if you're setting up a scope for the first time, is you're going to need a plumb line. Now, quite out here is quite windy, so if we put, we basically hung up a string with a weight on the bottom. So I'm just going to sit down because I'm sitting on my knee and this is not particularly comfortable. If you set up a string with a line hanging down with a weight on the bottom, there's a good chance that that will be perfectly level. Or you could just have something like this, a straight edge. You could have a ruler, 12-inch ruler stuck into a plant pot, but you've got to make sure that it's level. Now, I brought my little level out here, but obviously that will only measure it level at the top. You want something to measure it level on the side. Most phones have got a bubble setting that you can download, but basically make sure that that is completely level going straight up and down. And then from down the bottom, you can use that as your plumb line to line up your reticle on the middle. So make sure you've got a perfectly level line and you'll be good. Okay, so we've got our plumb line down there, or in our case we've got a straight edge. We're now going to look through our scope. We want to make sure that the rifle isn't canted left or right, so we can place our bubble on the top, and then we line up. Okay, I'm now looking through the scope and the reticle is absolutely perfect top to bottom. I'm looking at my bubble, and my bubble, now let's have a look, bubble's in the middle, and everything lines up. The reticle top to bottom is perfectly level when that bubble is perfectly level and is perfectly in line with the straight edge. So that way we know that the reticle, the line going up and down, isn't skew with on left or right. Because obviously if we've got it even fractionally off by a few degrees, then when we fire down range, when we bring the rifle up to our shoulder and we're looking through, we naturally want to make the rifle straight and we're aiming at the target, but we're now inducing cant into the rifle. We're twisting it left and right. So that means if you've got your rifle set at say 25 or 30 yards, if you're going to be shooting at 45 yards and you've got your rifle canted slightly to the right, the reticle's out, you're going to be hitting to the right or to the left, and at 8 yards you're going to be hitting at the opposite, because obviously the reticle is now on an angle. So let's have a look and see how far out this rifle is after we've swapped it from one gun to another. Okay, so we're out at 35 yards. You can see that there's a slight mark on the actual target. I'm too lazy to go and get my glove from the inside, Must admit the old legs play me up a little bit today. So let's see how far out we are. Okay, so correct height, slightly off to the right. We do have a bit of wind, although that's coming straight at us. So let's have another look. Okay, struggling to see at the moment. Okay, that was a bad shot. I'm gone from a TX to like a 4-pound trigger to this thing, which is super light. So that's my excuse. Also, I really need to put an eye cup on this. Yeah, see, but as you can see, we're really not that far away. So we've taken a scope off another gun, shoved it on a completely different type of rifle, and we've pretty much kept the zero. And the reason for that is this scope and this mount set, chances are they will never ever come apart, because once a scope is set within the mount, all dovetails on all guns should be pretty much level. So if you take the scope off and put it onto a level mount, you shouldn't be that far away. It's only when you start taking scopes from mounts and you start messing around with them that you're going to lose zero. You're always going to need to check, but you're always probably, you should always be within 2 or 3 clicks when you swap scopes around. Well, I think that's about it. I'm hoping I haven't missed anything, and when I do the edit, I'll probably realise I have, and I'll come back out it. But I hope that made some sense to you, and I hope it was an enjoyable video. We'll see you all again on the range very, very soon. And we've got some really exciting news. Starting in July, we have got a new series called Back to Basics. And we are going to cover everything from buying your first gun, buying your first scope. We're going to go through everything again. So if you're a new shooter, or if you're an old shooter who just likes watching me waffle on the range, I'm hoping it's going to be a really good series. And we have got an amazing sponsor. The surplus store at Crawley are still going to be with us, but also Daystate. It's going to be Back to Basics with Daystate. So I'm really excited to be partnering with them. It's an amazing firm. They make some amazing rifles, and I'm hoping that we can all have a lot of fun together. Don't forget, if you go onto the surplus store at Crawley to get a 5% discount, use the code GC5 and you will get 5% off all your purchases. And it also helps us. Take care of yourselves, take care of each other, and we'll see you again on the range very, very soon. Ta-da.